Hey everybody, my name is Blackhawk and I am going to show you guys the update 26 content, or some of it anyway. I had done this video yesterday, but what happened is I had a filter set that screwed up the audio, and so I'm going to have to do an overdub, so things may be a little weird there. But what you're going to see here, this is the new crane, the new construction yard. The construction yard's where you're going to make all your production parts. So what's important about that is blueprints are no longer. And in their place is going to be these production parts that are created here using RMATs. So you build the production part, and I'll show you in a minute that screen and everything. But you would use this construction yard to build the production part, and then you're going to move that over to the vehicle factory where it is going to be submitted like a blueprint. So I'll show you guys that stuff, but that's a really cool new part of the update. Kind of go through the release notes. This is the dev branch. Everything's subject to change on this. I'm using the dev branch. There's going to be so many things that change, but a couple of the things that are going to be coming, you get the crane coming, you get the flatbed truck coming, the freighter, the shipping container, production parts, construction yard, component mine. We'll start by checking out the tech tree. We got our regular fob menu. Tech building is no longer in the game. It's all going to happen at the town halls. And you're used to seeing this view of the tech tree. But what you'll see is the blueprint icons are no longer there. In the place is the production part icons. So once we hit that tech, it's going to unlock that ability to make production parts. But everything, all of the production parts use R mats instead of B mats for the blueprints. So we got to get to sledge before we can move on. This is a really exciting part of the tech tree as well. This is that magic button. 600 tech research parts is going to get us the advanced advanced construction, which allows us to build any defensive structure or any structure with the CV. So we're going to be able to build foxholes with CVs. Glorious day. Everything else is pretty much what we're used to seeing. Okay, so we're going to grab some RMATs and we're going to head over to build one of those production parts, show you how to submit it. But here we go. Here's the production parts screen. So you'll notice in the upper left is the shipping container. That's the only thing here that's not production parts. Everything else, you got production parts for the flatbed truck. The new flatbed truck does require production parts. It's not on the tech tree, but it is. We need to get to the sledgehammers before we can build those because of those RMATs. You'll notice that each whack is 5 instead of 1, so these build pretty quickly. I don't know if that's something that's going to change when it goes live. We'll find out very, very soon. And I can always redo this video once the new stuff comes out. But with the production parts, all you do is you press E and it's going to package it. I'll show you how to package vehicles and shipping containers later. But you press E and it'll package it up. It needs to be packaged. Anything that goes on the crane needs to be packaged before the crane can interact with it. Once you get in the crane, it's E to deploy. Now this crane happens to already be deployed. You got to be in the driver's seat. The passenger seat doesn't do anything. It's not quite like the CV where there's 2 seats to operate 2 different parts. And then right click and move around is going to move the crane. So if you're holding right click, now this gear, that gear's the magic symbol. It means that you can interact with something. So you get the crosshair where you can put it. You get the red little cross says you can't put it there. Pretty straightforward. But once we get to the vehicle factory, oh, there's a gear coming, and there it is, the gear. Now, when you put it down, it's going to interact with the vehicle factory, and poof, it's gone. And what that means is it's been submitted, and 5 flatbed trucks can now be made. Of course, a bunch of people have already done this on the development branch, so there's actually 97 production parts ready to go. So let's build the flatbed and show you guys how that works with the crane. And zoom. and boom, building is that quick. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, Building's still a drag as it has always been, but that CV later on is going to be awesome. Not that you can build vehicles with it, but you'll notice that there's a new screen here. It's the fuel screen. So we can't just grab some fuel and drop it in the inventory. There's two types of fuel: diesel and petrol. Diesel can't be used in vehicles that require petrol, and petrol cannot be used in vehicles that require diesel. It's not like the R fuel and fuel of the old days where the R fuel is just more efficient. In mind, you can use either one, and the petrol's more efficient than the diesel, but in any other situation, the vehicles require a certain type of fuel. All the logistics vehicles require diesel, the armor requires the petrol. I'm not sure about lower level armor if they require diesel, but either way, the way you put fuel in now is you equip it into your third slot, much like a med pack, and then you're going to pull that out and hold left click, much like a med pack. So you're basically healing the truck, and it's going to pour gasoline into its tank. Different vehicles hold different amounts. So this holds 150 liters. There's 100 liters in a container. So, take that. It takes a container and a half to fill the flatbed. But we'll put that there. Okay. The another way that you can fuel is by using the fueling truck now. Went and grabbed some diesel. I put it in the slot, but I didn't. That's just habit. We want to put that into the inventory. Now there's two slots here, one for diesel, one for petrol, so you can fuel both types. And it can stack in this truck. It can't stack anywhere else, but it can stack in the truck, and that's the benefit of the fueling truck. Plus this super cool button in the actions of each vehicle. When you press it, it connects a hose to the nearest fueling truck. And check that out. It fuels it right from the truck. That's super cool. I'm really excited about that. And it's going to consume the fuel per usual. So that's how the inventory of the fuel truck works. That's how fueling works. You can either do it by hand or by the fueling truck. Now, let's say you only wanted to use a little bit of fueling truck. There's a cancel button that I didn't show you. That's right next to the fueling button. So you can cancel fueling if you only wanted to put in like 50. We're going to grab had to find some B mats there. We're going to build a shipping container next. So this is the next cool thing about the update. The shipping container is a way to bring crates around the map in a more efficient manner. So we're going to show you how to package vehicles now. So this is the same way for like how it's for like FAs and all that stuff. There's a new button there called package. So when you click package, it's going to set the vehicle or the shipping container up to be picked up by the crane. Now, the shipping container happens to be small enough. There's two different size of packaged goods. A battle tank or most vehicles are the larger size that won't fit on the flatbed, but they'll fit on the freighter. But the shipping container and like the FA will fit on the flatbed. So again, holding right click and waiting for that magic gear symbol will tell us that we can interact. There it is. So we're going to drop that down and it'll lock it right in place on the flatbed. Tuck that away. Doing some damage testing with Blade earlier. So we're going to bring this over to the factory, show you how to submit a crate and pull a crate and all that stuff, how that works. You got to pull it off the flatbed to interact with it. So I brought the crane over, and we're going to pull that right off the truck and stick it next to the factory where we can now load it up to be brought to whatever stockpile you want to bring it to. So no longer do you need to be driving back and forth from Loftmeyer to whatever towns it's going to work with this new update. But from the major logistical hub to a stockpile that you may be preparing for the front, that's a little ways behind the front, you can, instead of trucking one truck at a time of these crates, you can load up this shipping container and do one shipping. I think it holds 30 crates. But we submitted that storm rifle ammo. Make sure we're covering everything. I think it's 30 crates that holds. It doesn't say in these patch notes. Hopefully it'll say in the final patch notes. But we covered the flatbed, we covered the crane, we covered the shipping container, covered the construction yard. Okay, so this is something it doesn't work on this build of the dev branch, but according to Markfoot, what they were planning on doing, I'm not sure if they've done it yet, is they're planning on making it so that you can package if there's anything in the inventory of a vehicle or a container, you cannot package it. But what they were planning on doing, I believe, is you can put things in the inventory of the shipping container and still be able to package it and move it, and those goods will still be in there. That way you can put it with BMATs and RMATs into the inventory, package it up, and deliver it, and there'll be BMATs and RMATs because you can't put those into the inventory of the stockpile. But again, this is a development branch. I'm not sure what's going to make it into the final build. I'm not sure that makes it into the final build. Um, I'm really looking forward. It's really only a couple hours away as I'm recording this. So we got that one magazine of storm rifle ammo. I'm going to show you how to submit it into the stockpile. Now, of course, I'm going to mess this up. I did not put this close enough. You really need to put this closer to... You know what my mistake was here? You need to unpackage that container. It would have loaded up fine. But for some reason, I was able to interact with the container even though it was... no, I was interacting with the stockpile. I thought I was interacting with the container, but I was interacting with the stockpile. So make sure you interact with that container and unpackage it, which is what I'm about to do now. That's when I noticed that I'm in the wrong thing. Bring up that context menu. There you go. Unpackage it. Don't forget that Control E for that context menu. And now we can click that Submit button, and it's going to pull everything from the shipping container instantly and put it into the stockpile. So that's super cool. It's better than pulling every crate one at a time. Now, it's worth mentioning that if you pull one crate out of the shipping container, it's slower than pulling a crate out of a regular warehouse. So we're going to package that up, grab the crane, get that out of the way for future players so we don't leave it right in the driveway there. By the way, that driveway, vehicles can be put into the warehouse the same way. You can store up to 10 of each type of vehicle in the warehouse. So just like I did there where I click submit driveway item, I could park a field artillery, I could park a battle tank. Now anything, any fuel you're going to lose, and the inventory is going to have to be empty in order to submit it. So let's talk about resources. This is a new scrap. It's the salvage. So salvage mines, component fields. We're not going to go see one of those mines right this second because that would take some additional time, and I kind of threw this video together real quick. But just to show you, we have oil mines. There's no more fuel nodes like there used to be, so you can't whack fuel nodes with a sledgehammer. It's going to be mined. But the diesel, I'll show you this in a minute, the diesel actually comes from salvage. So you're going to farm salvage for just about everything. So all those screws there, what used to be scrap, are all the salvage nodes. Some maps don't have certain resources, so you're going to have to go and control certain maps to get sulfur, control other maps to get components. So I noticed that most maps have fuel, but I kind of want to dig into that more later. So these nodes also, they respawn very slowly. So you'll see this has 24,000 salvage on it now. It's not like it respawns every a couple hundred like an old scrap node. So this is a new refinery window. Salvage refines into 3 different items now: BMATs, diesel, and EMATs. They do so at a ratio. So salvage 1500 is a truckload. Remember, we don't have to take up that fuel slot anymore because it goes into the fuel tank. So we have 15 slots in the truck, truly. So 1500 salvage would be a complete truckload, and you'd end up with 750 BMATs, and that takes 6 minutes. So it's a longer refine time as well. They've really kind of made resources more valuable. Diesel comes at a 10 to 1, EMATs come out at a 10 to 1, and RMATs come out at 20 to 1. So an entire truck of components now only makes 75 RMATs, but they've changed the building substantially. The only buildings that take RMATs at this point are bunkers. So bunker walls, fortress walls, AT turrets don't take. They're AT turrets are 100 BMATs. Pop-ups are BMATs. Pillboxes are BMATs. Gun nests are BMATs. 100 BMATs to upgrade a Foxhole to a gun nest and so forth. Uh, so the refinery, yeah, you'll see that oil, and I'm not sure if my cursor is kind of flying all over the place, but oil is refined 3 to 1 into diesel. Petrol. But back before you can mine fuel, and the unrefined fuel could be refined or it could not be refined. You can use it. The oil in its pure state is not functional in this update. So it's unprocessed, and until you process it, it is. So, in other words, the fuel works much different. You need to process the petrol and the diesel from two separate raw goods. Same way with the same way EMATs work, or the petrol and the diesel work with separate things. The EMATs and the heavy explosive materials, the HEMATs, are going to work separately as well. So different things require different ones. In other words, if we look at, for instance, we're going to look at here, the grenades are going to take EMATs, whereas the tank shells are going to take HEMATs. I guess that's what we're going to call them. We'll see. But same way with, let's say, for mortars, it's going to take EMATs. For howitzer shells, it's HEMATs. So heavy explosives are going to use the heavy explosive materials, EMATs. So again, the early game stuff are going to come straight from salvage. A lot of that early game stuff is going to be refined from salvage, where the later game stuff like howitzers and tank shells are going to come from those sulfur mines that are much harder to access because of their rarity and only being on certain maps. And the refine times have been dramatically increased. So, kind of covered the oil wells. They feed out not in orders but over time now. So instead of placing an order and having to come back or setting it as public, they're just going to constantly feed based on what type of fuel is in there. So if there's diesel, it's going to feed slowly. If it's petrol, a little quicker. Component mines, there's component mines now, much like there used to be with scrap mines. I don't think there's salvage mines though. I'd have to double check, but yes, there is salvage mines. I apologize. So you have salvage mines just like there used to be scrap mines, and now there's component mines which automatically feed components in the same way the crude oil works. So it's not going to be orders anymore. It's going to be a constant feed. Now let's talk about the new map. The map, it's been completely redesigned. It's hex based. It's completely reconfigurable from war to war. So we're going to see some more variety between wars. The border travel is more. It's cleaner. We're going to pull open that. There we go. So you can see all these new maps like Lochmoor. Oh, I'm sure a lot of you have already seen these new maps. Lynn of Mercy. But Farragut Coast is the same. Jade Cove is basically unchanged, or literally unchanged, I believe. Whereas I'm going to hop over to see if I can find Heartlands, and the Blemish and Lothmire completely redesigned as a fortress now. Those are all fortress walls around it, like you would see at the Bulwark. One kind of cool thing, and I think I zoom into this, but anytime if you see a rock, let's say you're on a border, the Drownvale, that's a cool new map. That's all swampland. It's all water. But let's look at this rock. So if you see this rock, and let's say this ledge right here, you can see it from the opposite border. So if you're in this left map here and you're looking into that right map, you can see that ledge, and when you map travel, that ledge is right there. So these borders are seamless, whereas they used to be kind of wonky edges. I've glitched in these borders. I've popped up way further away than I thought I would by looking at the maps. These are going to be seamless, and I'm really excited for that change. The new victory conditions, they're not really that new. We're used to seeing the circles around the victory towns. These are all the towns that we control. So in this case, the colonials in the Steppe branch have 2 level 1s, 3 level 2s. And it's 1 out of 31. That's the tier 3 victory condition towns. This new uprising idea, I'm not really sure how that's going to play out, but basically where it says none there that I was kind of hovering over a second ago, if one side has like 31 town halls but only 29 of them have been upgraded to tier 3, and there's still a couple of tier 2s, excuse me, then there's going to be some sort of negative or positive impact on the losing team in order to kind of push the winning team to finish it off, which should be really interesting. Um, so that's kind of the new map, the new kind of change on the victory condition to try to push that end of the war without dragging it out. Um, the intel, what I'm showing here is that the intel shows like a Google map view, so even when you're not in a map, you're going to be able to see intel for the entire map. Unlike if you wanted to see if there's an invasion happening in Westgate, you used to have to go to Westgate. But if you're in Heartlands and you pop open the map and you look at Westgate, you can see like, oh shoot, there's an invasion going on. So partisans and things like that are going to be much easier to deal with. Although I think with the multiple borders, the 6 different borders, it's going to be out there a lot more. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But it would be nice to be able to see them as long as they have radar coverage. So, kind of back to the patch notes, we covered that new map, the unified world map, and then it kind of gets into the gameplay changes. Again, these patch notes are subjective to change. The devs would kill me if I didn't say that because these are old patch notes, actually, even compared to where Dev Branch is now. These were released a couple of days ago, and a lot of things have changed. But we've talked about the resource mine changes. We've added component mines, diesel petrol from can be used. Garrison house tiers. As you upgrade town halls, you can also upgrade the garrison houses. At tier 3 garrison, uh, at tier 3 garrison, they're going to now fire AT rifles. So that's really cool. It's going to increase the armor. Tier 1's going to be a little squishier, so maybe you can do a little bit more to it early game, where tier 3 is going to be, kind of anti-tank, half-track. But the town hall needs to be a tier 3 before you can get the garrison house to be tier 3. So that's really kind of cool change. I'm excited for that one. Refineries and whatnot need to be claimed by a faction. That's new, very new. Facilities no longer lose upgrade parts when they're destroyed and rebuilt by the same faction. That means the partisan life is going to kind of take a hit on that one. All bases now use operating posts and radio facilities. I'm going to show you that real quick. That's a huge change that's going to have some massive impacts on the game. We kind of talked about the win conditions, and then there's a lot of balance changes and stuff that I'm not going to really get into. But what I do want to show you is the fob. And so if we take a look at the fob, this is a new operating post. Connects this base to nearby defensive structures. That is huge. That means in the beginning of the game, unless it comes upgraded in certain towns, but when, let's say you run out and you take Machis Keening, I'm not sure what you're going to start with or whatever, but you run out and you take a town, you're not going to be able to just drop foxholes and have automatic defenses. You need to have those 15 upgrade parts in place before the defenses are upgraded. You need to upgrade the radio view in order to get that from a town hall. So you need to upgrade it with 15 upgrade parts. It's 10 for an encampment upgrade parts in order to connect to defensive structures, and then 5 will get you the radio coverage. It's not a ton. I can farm that out in no time, but that's a lot of fobs. So that old style of fob pushing by building a fob, laying down foxholes, pushing up to the next 80 meters, building another fob, that's going to become a much more difficult meta. It's going to take a lot more teamwork than that. And I'm really not sure how that's going to affect the overall gameplay, but I'm excited to find out. The last thing I want to throw in here, for those of you who are seeing this that happen to not be in the United Colonial Front, throwing out the little bit of propaganda, UCF, we're always recruiting, looking for new players, willing to teach, willing to learn from you. We do operations on a pretty regular basis, usually in that 6 p.m. GMT, 7 p.m. GMT time frame, which is like 2 p.m. Eastern Standard in America. Really looking forward to seeing you guys out there. looking forward to this new update dropping in just a couple hours. Thanks for watching.